One mistake in your pantry could cost you weeks of survival. Most people assume their emergency stash is safe until they open it during a blackout or storm and find rancid rice, spoiled nuts, or rusted cans. Meanwhile, a few overlooked staples can sit untouched for decades and still be perfectly edible. That's why we're breaking down 7 foods that never expire and 4 you must avoid at all costs. By the end, you'll know the exact staples that belong in every long-term pantry, the science that makes them last, and the mistakes that could ruin your preparations. Let's start with the first item, a timeless staple that has fed families through wars, famines, and disasters for thousands of years. Number 7, white rice, the 5,000-year insurance policy. Maria in Ohio thought she was prepared. 3 months of canned goods, bottled water, and a generator. Then the February freeze hit. Power died. Her freezer thawed. Everything spoiled except one thing, the 50-pound bag of white rice tucked in her basement. That rice fed her family for 6 weeks while grocery stores stayed closed. White rice isn't just food, it's civilizational memory. Archaeologists opened Ming Dynasty tombs in 2023 and found rice that was still edible after 6 centuries. The International Rice Research Institute confirmed what ancient cultures knew. Properly stored white rice can outlive you, your children, and your grandchildren. But most families make one fatal mistake. They leave rice in those flimsy store bags. Moisture seeps in, pantry moths arrive. Within months, your insurance policy becomes insect food. Transfer every pound to airtight containers immediately. Add bay leaves. They repel pests naturally and won't alter the taste. Here's the economics that matter. A 50-pound bag costs $30 today. That's 500 servings at 6 cents each. When inflation drives a box of cereal past $8, you're eating for pennies. 1 cup of white rice delivers 45 grams of carbohydrates, the fuel that keeps you moving when everything else runs out. Store it cool, dry, and sealed. Your basement works. Your garage in summer doesn't. Keep it below 75 degrees, away from your water heater and exterior walls. Glass jars with rubber seals are ideal. Food-grade buckets with gamma lids work for bulk storage. The real power isn't the rice itself, it's the certainty. When the next shock arrives, you won't be panic buying at triple the price. Number 6. Dried beans, the protein vault that outlasts meat. Tom, a trucker from Iowa, watched meat prices climb 12% in a single year. His grocery budget couldn't keep up. Then his brother showed him something strange. Mason jars of beans from their grandmother's pantry, dated 1978. They cooked a batch. Perfect texture, full flavor. 45 years later, the University of Michigan just published findings that rewrite food storage rules. Dried beans, kidney, pinto, black navy maintain nutritional integrity for over 30 years when stored correctly. That's not a typo. 3 decades. The mechanism is dehydration. Water breeds bacteria, remove the water, and microbial life stops cold. Beans enter suspended animation. Their protein, fiber, and mineral content stays locked inside those hard shells, waiting. But here's what the grocery stores don't tell you. Those plastic bags your beans arrive in, they're designed to fail. They let air through. They allow humidity in. Transfer beans to glass jars or vacuum-sealed Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers the day you bring them home. 1 cup of dried beans contains more protein than 3 eggs and costs a fraction of the price. At $1.50 per pound, you're buying 6 servings of complete protein. When beef hits $15 a pound and chicken climbs past 8, beans become the economic lifeboat most families overlook. Variety protects you. Stock kidney beans for chili, black beans for Mexican dishes, navy beans for soups. When monotony sets in during long disruptions, different flavors keep morale from collapsing. Survival isn't just calories, it's the will to keep going. Before we dive into the next foods, take a moment to subscribe. You'll get proven survival tips, storage hacks, and strategies to protect your family when a crisis hits. Number 5. Raw honey, nature's eternal medicine cabinet. 3,000 years ago, Egyptian embalmers sealed jars of honey in pharaoh's tombs. In 2007, archaeologists opened those tombs. The honey was still edible, still sterile, still perfect. Raw honey isn't food in the conventional sense. It's a biological weapon against decay. Its water content is so low, below 18%, that bacteria can't survive. The pH is acidic enough to burn microbes, and it naturally produces hydrogen peroxide, creating an environment hostile to everything that makes food rot. But the market is flooded with imposters. That clear squeezable bottle at the discount store, it's been ultra-filtered and heat-treated until almost nothing remains but sugar water. You need raw, unprocessed honey. Look for labels that say unpasteurized, or check for cloudiness and crystallization, signs of the real thing. A 2024 study in the Journal of of Food Science identified 181 active compounds in raw honey. These aren't just flavor molecules. They're antimicrobial agents powerful enough that hospitals now use medical-grade honey for wound care. Your pantry staple is also a first aid kit. When honey crystallizes, then raw honey always does eventually. Don't panic, it's proof of purity. Place the jar in warm water, not boiling, and the crystals dissolve back into liquid gold. This isn't degradation, it's transformation. Store it sealed in glass at room temperature. Heat above 140 degrees destroys those beneficial compounds. Plastic containers can leach chemicals over time. Dark amber glass protects it from light degradation. In a prolonged crisis, honey becomes currency. It sweetens bitter reality. It disinfects cuts when antibiotics run out. And it gives you something increasingly rare: sweetness that never ends. Number 4. Salt, the mineral that built empires and survives them. 4,500 years ago, Egyptian workers received wages in salt. Roman soldiers were paid in salt, the origin of the word salary. And when archaeologists opened ancient storerooms, they found salt that was still chemically identical to what you'd buy today. Pure sodium chloride is geologically immortal. It doesn't oxidize. It doesn't decompose. It simply waits. The Salt Institute confirmed in 2024 that salt stored properly can outlast human civilization itself. But salt's value in a crisis goes beyond seasoning. Your nervous system runs on sodium. Without it, your muscles stop responding. Your brain can't fire signals. Severe sodium depletion causes confusion, seizures, and death within days. Salt isn't optional. It's the electrolyte that keeps you conscious. Before refrigeration existed, salt was humanity's primary preservation method. Meat packed in salt stays edible for months. Fish cured in salt survives for years. In a grid-down scenario where your freezer becomes a useless box, salt becomes the technology that prevents starvation. Choose pure salt over iodized when stockpiling. Iodine additives can fade over years, though the salt remains perfect. Sea salt and Himalayan salt work, but they cost more for no functional advantage in survival scenarios. Plain, pure sodium chloride is all you need. When the supply chain fractures and grocery stores run bare, salt becomes the invisible currency. Everyone needs it. No one thinks to hoard it. And the family with salt in the basement has leverage the unprepared will never understand. Number 3. White vinegar, the acid that kills everything but itself. In March 2024, Cornell University researchers made a discovery that went viral in prepper communities. That $2 jug of white vinegar under your sink is more effective at preservation than most modern chemicals, and it never degrades. White vinegar is 5% acetic acid suspended in water. That acid creates a hostile environment where bacteria, mold, and pathogens can't survive. It's self-sterilizing. 2,000-year-old sealed vessels from China contained vinegar that was still usable when opened. But vinegar's survival value extends far beyond the kitchen. A recent study showed it kills 99% of surface bacteria, including E. coli and Salmonella. When sanitizer runs out and bleach becomes unaffordable, vinegar becomes your disinfectant, your surface cleaner, and your food safety net. Mix vinegar with baking soda, and you get a chemical reaction that breaks down grease better than commercial degreasers. Add it to your laundry, and it strips odors without fabric softener. In a long-term disruption where household products become scarce or unaffordable, 1 gallon of vinegar replaces $50 of specialized cleaners. The preservation power is where vinegar shines. Adding a splash to pickled vegetables extends their life by 25%. Meat marinades with vinegar inhibit bacterial growth. Even fresh produce, rinsed in diluted vinegar, stays crisp longer. When the crisis hits and chemical supplies disappear, vinegar is the liquid that keeps your home sanitized, your food preserved, and your family protected. It's not glamorous, but neither is survival. Number 2. Dried pasta, the carbohydrate time capsule. In 2023, Italian researchers opened a sealed military ration from 1944. Inside was spaghetti from World War II. They cooked it, tested it. The results stunned the food science community, perfectly edible after 79 years. Dried pasta achieves something close to food immortality through radical dehydration. When moisture content drops below 12% and oxygen exposure is eliminated, pasta enters stasis. The starches don't break down. The structure doesn't collapse. Time stops. The University of Michigan's latest research confirms that properly stored pasta maintains full nutritional value for over 15 years, and likely far longer. We're talking about shelf-stable calories that cost pennies per serving and never betray you. But most families store pasta in the flimsy cardboard boxes it arrives in. Those boxes let humidity seep through. They invite pantry pests. Within months, your emergency carbs become weevil condominiums. The fix is immediate. it. Transfer pasta to airtight containers or vacuum-sealed bags the day you buy it. Storage rules are absolute: cool, dark, and airtight. Basements work if they're dry, closets work if they're climate controlled. Garages fail because temperature swings cause condensation inside sealed containers. Moisture is pasta's only enemy. Keep it out and you've got a decade of dinners guaranteed. Combine pasta with canned tomatoes, dried herbs, and olive oil, and you've got a meal that costs under 50 cents and tastes like comfort. In a world where nothing feels certain, that certainty matters more than you realize until it's all you have left. Number 1. Hard liquor, the multi-purpose survival liquid. Before you skip this thinking it's just about drinking, understand what high-proof spirits actually are in a crisis: sterile disinfectant, emergency fuel, barter currency, and food preservative rolled into one clear bottle. Spirits with 40% alcohol or higher create an environment where bacteria die on contact. The International Journal of Food Science confirmed in 2024 that sealed liquor maintains quality indefinitely. Not years, not decades, forever. But liquor's survival value transcends the bottle. Medical professionals historically used high-proof alcohol to sterilize equipment when nothing else existed. In a grid-down scenario where pharmacies are empty and wounds turn septic without treatment, vodka or rum becomes the difference between infection and recovery. Clear spirits, vodka, white rum, grain alcohol, offer maximum versatility. They disinfect without staining. They preserve fruits and herbs through tincture methods. And in desperate circumstances, they can fuel improvised lamps when electricity fails and candles run out. The barter economy that emerges during sustained crises runs on vices and necessities. Liquor straddles both categories. A bottle of whiskey might trade for a week of labor. A pint of vodka could buy medication. The unprepared will pay anything for comfort when reality gets harsh. The moral calculation is yours, but denying the strategic value of alcohol in survival scenarios is denying reality. When systems collapse and supply chains break, having what others desperately need gives you leverage that food alone can't provide. Now, you know the foods that will last forever, but what about the ones that won't? These next 4 may look safe, but they're silent stockpile killers. Number 1. Brown rice, the ticking time bomb. Brown rice looks healthier. Nutritionists praise it, and it will ruin your food storage within 6 months. The difference between white and brown rice is the bran layer. That layer contains oils. Those oils oxidize. Oxidation creates rancidity. Rancid rice tastes bitter, smells off, and can cause digestive distress. The University of Food Preservation found that brown rice, even vacuum sealed, rarely exceeds 2 years before degradation begins. The health benefit doesn't justify the risk. In a genuine crisis where food security matters, you need calories that stay viable indefinitely. Brown rice's extra fiber and minerals don't compensate for becoming inedible when you need it most. Storage attempts often fail, despite best intentions. Even with oxygen absorbers and mylar bags, the oils in that bran layer begin breaking down. Temperature fluctuations accelerate the process. What smells fresh at 6 months can turn rancid by month 12. Here's what happens when you rely on brown rice long term. You open your stockpile during an emergency. The smell hits you. Stale, almost paint-like. You cook it anyway because you're desperate. The bitterness makes it nearly inedible. Your family refuses it. Those calories you counted on become waste. If you're determined to store whole grains, rotate them aggressively. Buy small quantities. Use them within 6 months. Mark purchase dates with permanent marker. Treat brown rice like fresh produce, not shelf-stable insurance. But for true long-term stockpiling, brown rice is a liability masquerading as nutrition. It promises security and delivers spoilage exactly when you can least afford it. Number 2. Canned goods. Past 3 years, canned food feels like the ultimate prep. Sealed metal, long dates, the illusion of permanence. But cans corrode, seals fail, and botulism doesn't announce itself until you're hospitalized. The USDA technically says canned goods are safe indefinitely if the can remains intact, but safety and quality diverge after 3 years. Acidic foods like tomatoes and fruits eat through can linings. High-sodium items accelerate corrosion from the inside, and one microscopic breach lets in the bacteria that produces botulinum toxin, one of the deadliest substances known. Recent case studies show families poisoned by decade-old canned stews that looked and smelled fine. The toxin is odorless and invisible. By the time symptoms appear, blurred vision, difficulty swallowing, paralysis. Hospital intervention may be too late. Botulism has a 30 to 40% mortality rate even with treatment. The chemistry of canned degradation is relentless. The tin or aluminum reacts with food acids, protective linings break down, rust forms from exterior humidity. Each temperature swing causes the metal to expand and contract, weakening seals imperceptibly. You can't see the failure until it's catastrophic. Here's the trap most preppers fall into. They buy 50 cans of soup on sale, stack them in the basement, and forget about that. 5 years later, they need that food. Half the cans are swollen, a quarter show rust. The rest look fine but taste metallic and off. The money saved buying in bulk is lost to spoilage. For long-term security beyond 3 years, choose freeze-dried or dehydrated alternatives in sealed mylar or glass. They don't rely on metal integrity and outlast cans by decades without the botulism risk. Number 3. Nuts and seeds. The rancid fat trap. Almonds, walnuts, sunflower seeds, they seem perfect for protein and healthy fats. Preppers stockpile them by the pound, and within months, they're consuming oxidized oils that damage cells and taste like old cardboard. Polyunsaturated fats oxidize rapidly when exposed to air, light, and heat. What starts as a nutritious snack becomes a source of harmful free radicals within 6 to 12 months. Rancid nuts taste metallic and bitter. Eating them causes oxidative stress that damages DNA, accelerates aging, and stresses your liver. The process is invisible at first. Nuts look fine, they might smell slightly off, but hunger overrides caution. You eat them. The aftertaste lingers. Your body processes those degraded fats, creating inflammation throughout your system. In a crisis where medical care is limited, you've just compromised your health with food you thought was safe. Even vacuum sealed, most nuts don't exceed 1 year before quality crashes. Walnuts and pecans, highest in polyunsaturated fats, go rancid fastest. Cashews and almonds last slightly longer, but still fail within 18 months at room temperature. The only exception is whole, unshelled nuts stored in freezers at 0 degrees or below. But if the power fails during your crisis, you've got 48 hours before they start degrading. Your frozen stockpile becomes a race against time. For long-term stockpiling, rely on dried beans and lentils for protein. They last decades and don't oxidize. For fats, choose coconut oil or olive oil in dark glass bottles. Both outlast nuts by years without turning toxic. Your stockpile should enhance survival, not undermine it with rancid oils that damage health when you need strength most. Number 4. Whole wheat flour. The Weevil Hotel. Whole wheat flour contains wheat germ, the part with oils, nutrients, and a 6-month expiration clock. Those oils go rancid. Worse, flour attracts pantry pests like weevils and moths that infest entire storage areas and ruin everything they touch. Even sealed in mylar with oxygen absorbers, whole wheat flour develops off flavors within a year. The germ's natural oils oxidize despite your best efforts. What smelled fresh at purchase smells stale and musty by month 8. Baked goods made from rancid flour taste bitter and fail to rise properly. The pest problem is worse than spoilage. Flour beetles, weevils, and Indian meal moths lay eggs that survive in sealed bags. You open your stockpile and find webbing, larvae, and adult insects throughout. They don't stay contained. They spread to your rice, your pasta, your oats. One bag of infested flour compromises your entire pantry. Here's the scenario that plays out thousands of times. You buy whole wheat flour in bulk because it's nutritious. You seal it carefully. 6 months later, you open the container to find tiny moths flying out. Upon closer inspection, you see larvae in the flour and webbing on the sides. The entire batch is ruined, but the moths have already spread to 3 other containers. You've lost 50 pounds of food to pests that hitched a ride in 1 bag of flour. If you need flour long-term, store whole wheat berries and a grain mill instead. Berries last 30 years when properly stored. They're too hard for pests to infest. Grind them fresh as needed. You get all the nutrition of whole wheat flour without the spoilage, oxidation, or insect problems. That's the full list. 7 foods that last forever and 4 that can ruin your survival plan. Remember, your stockpile isn't just about calories, it's about certainty, peace of mind, and knowing your family won't go hungry when the unprepared are scrambling. If this helped you, hit subscribe and join our community of preppers and forward thinkers. Every week we break down practical strategies to save money, outsmart inflation, and survive whatever crisis is around the corner. Don't just watch, prepare with us.